At last, our Incantation-Only challenge, no summons, no weapons, is coming to an end. Main takeaway for the endgame, more speed definitely means fewer problems. Enjoy these last few seconds of peace in Farum Azula before we dive straight into boss after boss after boss. No spoilers, but some of them don't even last 20 seconds. And the surprise MVP of the run? Wait until you see how one honestly unexpected incantation carried us through Maliketh, Godfrey, and Radagon. But before that, as we fight our way through the nights guarding the Dragon Temple, let's pay a visit to our good friends, the Godskin Duo. I went for the Transept Site of Grace this time, a bit longer to reach but totally worth it for instant retries with no enemies in the way. I'll be honest, it took quite a few tries, but after tweaking our setup a few times, here is the winning run against the Godskin Duo. So the first thing I'm doing when entering is running away to the left, since this spawn point is super close to the bosses. Then I'm able to go behind a pillar, which is very good in this fight because I can get the Dragon Breath attacks through, but the bosses cannot really hit back. So I'm trying to use that to my advantage as much as possible through the fight. First by using the Rotten Breath, since it's very good to inflict rot early in this fight. It will be beneficial the whole fight and get their HP down and down and down little by little. Once I'm done with this part, I'm trying to build distance again, but I get hit as you see by the rolling attack. It's not that great, but I'm still fine in the end. Then I switch to Pest Thread, since it's very good against big enemies. Once I'm done with this boss, you can see the other one is also out from the rot effect. So now I'm just waiting for them to respawn, because in this fight it's a bit special. It's the full HP bar you need to deplete, not only getting the bosses out of the fight. So the first respawns, and now I switch to Borealis Mist as a Dragon Breath. And why? Because at this point the rot effect will not be so impactful, but getting a lot of DPS and Frostbite effect is much faster way to inflict damage, even though it's not very FP efficient. So I'm focusing on this, and when I don't have such openings I just use Pest Thread. Now I'm running away to the corner to try to get more Dragon Breath out. So once again I do Borealis Mist and get a bit of damage out. I replenish my FP again and target to have a full breath attack again. That's what's happening here, and as you can see I get hit, but at the same time I'm able to finish them, and that concludes our fight against the Godskin Duo. With that fight out of the way, we can now move on to our next target, Maliketh. While we go through a Crucible Knight fight and a dragon on the way, let me be honest with you and admit that at that moment I'm really not confident about fighting Maliketh. First, right before the boss, there is a Draconic Sentinel that often is nearly a bigger nightmare than Maliketh himself, due to the layout of the fight. And then for Maliketh, phase 1 is usually okay, but phase 2 is kind of a speed check where it doesn't have a lot of HP, but is probably the most dangerous boss of the whole game in terms of damage and attack speed. So first onto the Draconic Sentinel. It's not possible to cheese him the regular way because he will see you, so first you have to soft pull him this way, that you are just close enough he follows you but doesn't really attack you. Once this is done, he will slowly return to his original position, and during this time you can sneak by, and you just have to be ready to go behind him as soon as he turns back to the normal position. It reverts to the standard Poison Mist cheese, so that part is not complicated, it just requires a lot of patience. In order to spare you, I will summarize this actually 20 minutes of poison into 20 seconds. And once this is done, we can proudly say that once again we've defeated another Draconic Sentinel. In the end, it felt like the easiest way to complete this fight and now turn our focus fully onto Maliketh. Even though I was mentioning phase 1 being easy, I had to retry it so many times since phase 2 was a hard wall for me that I had few great moments like this one where you can appreciate me being a total clown. But back to serious things, let me share with you the winning run and the logic behind it. So after trying many times, I found a comfortable way to set up the phase 1. So first I reach for the nearest pillar so I can use it to protect myself from the phase 1 attacks. If I'm just at the corner, I can still hit with the Dragon Breath without getting hit back, so that's what I use to inflict rot first on the boss. And then this is a game of patience, where you can see it's maybe also because I'm a bit jaded from trying so many times, but I can just wait and let him play actually, since it seems so fun to be hitting this pillar again and again and again. But while I'm doing that, I'm also thinking about phase 2 already, to be honest, so I'm ready to time my buffs as well as I can. And this run was one of the first one as well, where I'm switching to Catch Flame, the incantation I was mentioning, because yes, it's very short range, but the DPS is extremely high. So that's what I wanted to try against Maliketh, and what we are gonna see very soon into phase 2, right after I finish casting all my buffs. Sadly, I get hit, you will see, while I'm casting all of Shabiri, but in the end it will not be too consequential. So I'm just covering myself, recovering the FP, and ready to start phase 2. So my phase 2 setup is very simple: back few meters, cast Flame of Frenzy, and be ready to swap to Catch Flame as soon as we get into melee range. I don't manage to avoid the explosion, but at least the benefit is I end up being very close to Maliketh, so I can hit again, then he goes into the air, and when he lands, hit. And Maliketh is defeated. I don't know if you think it looks easy, but it's not. It's just that Catch Flame gave us a way to close the fight before it gets too dangerous. Because especially without summons, the pace of the fight becomes soon just insane otherwise. So now that Maliketh is behind us, we are heading to the last location of the game for us, Leyndal, Ashen Capital. The next boss to fight is a bit particular, as he is kind of like me. Well, he likes to talk way too much. No comment, okay? So I'm sure you guessed it, let's go and say hi to Sir Gideon Ofnir, the All-Knowing. This fight is extremely straightforward because first, as we all know, you can attack him before he attacks back for quite a long time, so I use that chance to inflict rot and a lot of damage on him. And then I switch to one of the best incantation against NPCs in Elden Ring, which is Aspect of the Crucible, Horns. Why is that? You can see by yourself, against NPC it's basically perma-stunning them all the time, so it just makes the end of the fight a non-fight, and we are done with what is technically a difficult boss fight, but in practice doesn't really feel like one. So with this fight completed, the path to the tree is now open, and we are left with only 3 bosses before reaching the end of Elden Ring. That is Godfrey, Radagon, and eventually the Elden Beast. So starting with Godfrey, this is a case similar to Maliketh, in that I had to try quite many times, but thanks to that I could find a nice setup for the fight. So first thing obviously is I'm trying to cast all of my buffs in order to maximize my DPS. Once I'm done with that, I can enter the arena. I will reach forward a little bit to reduce the distance. Now I have the perfect range to cast Frenzied Burst, so I'm casting 3 of them while going a little bit back and to the left. That's gonna give me just the right distance to follow up with one of the highest DPS Dragon Breath, which is Aghil's Flame. So while I'm casting that, he is casting an attack as well, but it's barely not reaching me, as you can see from the ground. Then I have to wait before jumping. Okay, so that way I can avoid this attack. Usually I would drink the FP potion, but here I do a mistake and I have the you don't have enough FP animation, so I get a hit because of that, but then I can avoid properly, dodge again, and start the phase 2.
Now I fight as Horaloo.
Phase 2 starts, and first I have to avoid his grab attack, so if you turn like this you can, then I follow with Catch Flame. I get hit one time, which is not good, but luckily I stay very close to him, and as he lifts his leg I can hit, and he's done. That's really the crazy thing with Catch Flame. For such damage, the cooldown is insanely low, so if you get an opening you can fully exploit it. And now that we defeated Godfrey, there is just one fight left, Radagon and the Elden Beast. Surprisingly, after learning the pattern, I would probably say it's one of the easier fights of today, but that's mostly due to Radagon being weak to fire and the Elden Beast being huge and thus weak to Pest Thread. So as usual, let me run you through my logic during the fight. I'm sure you guessed it, we start with all our buffs once again, and once we are ready, we replenish the FP and engage the fight. So as soon as we can move, I'm gonna rush towards him to use Catch Flame. We can hit once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, then we jump. Now we have to wait because he's gonna land on us. We dodge, we can get few more hits, then he disappears, so we get hit, but it's just a small hit, and we finish Radagon. So now it's only been a few seconds and we are already onto the Elden Beast. I use this small downtime to refresh the Hall of Shabiri, and then we are ready to ride a torrent and start the fight with Pest Thread against the Elden Beast. The first priority is to spam Pest Thread of course, but also to get behind the beast so that we don't get hit by the AoE. Once we can do that, you can see the HP is going down super fast. I was nearly expecting to finish it right here, right there, to be honest, but it's not the case. So I switched to Frenzied Burst because obviously it's very convenient here with the super range. I can hit even the second time to the sky here. I was thinking it's done, but it's not, it's still 1 HP, so I'm very confident. I'm not gonna pretend I'm worried at that point, but still you need to finish the fight. So I approach, ready to finish, but somehow the beast moves at the same time, so I have to approach a bit closer to finish the fight. And here I come with the last Pest Thread, and we are done. Eventually, with only incantations, no summons, no weapons, we managed to fight our way through Margit, Godric, Radan, Morgoth, the Fire Giant, the Godskin Duo, Maliketh, Gideon, Godfrey, Radagon, and the Elden Beast. I sincerely hope you enjoyed this challenge series, and as usual, if you would like to see more of such content on Elden Ring and other games, please like, subscribe, leave suggestions in the comments if you wish, and most importantly, stay awesome.